Do you know what I'm nostalgic about? The good old days. The good old days.
Speaking of
Hello, everyone.
nostalgia, we're 5 years into our podcast.
we are 5 years in. That's wild to think.
Yeah.
Like
Speaking of nostalgia.
we've spent 5 years of our friendship nerding out together and growing the friendship by doing this, which has been quite a delight. If like I don't know if you agree. It's been so fun. It's been so
And
fun.
speaking of nostalgia, we have some fun friends in our chat.
We do. We have Lacey.
We have a Lacey.
Hello,
I
Lacey
saw
dear.
I saw a picture on your Facebook of you and Lacey chatting over a bottle of wine. I think you were probably watching My 500-Pound Life because
It was because I mentioned that's what we used to bond over. I was like reaching for the wine. It's one of my favorite photos of Lacey.
but it was great. I just love that. I just love that so much. And I was just like, good old days, good old nostalgia days.
I do kind of miss those days as well. Oh my goodness. So, friends, welcome. It's episode 153. Tonight's episode is college nostalgia. I mean, Ari and I are regularly nostalgic about college, and we talk about it frequently because that's where we met and became friends, right? But we also just wanted to talk about the college experience in general and how it's kind of like shaped us into who we are. Because it's an experience that I think a lot of people might be able to connect with, and some people may not, and that's totally okay. So, but before we get into talking about that, how have you been? What have you been up to?
Oh goodness. So I have been doing college work. My college class is amazing. My teacher, Professor Faith, is just like the nicest lady. So I'm taking contemporary writers and the publishing industry. And she's just like the nicest person. I'm getting a good grade in the class. Of course, because my cumulative GPA is 3.98 or something like right now. So like with all of my classes. So of course I'm getting an A in my class. But I read for my class, we had to read like an award-winning novel because award-winning novels get more tend to get more readers or sell more books. And so she wanted us to read something of excellence as a way of like possibly trying to sell our own work as a way of possibly like something to aspire to as writers. So I read a Michigan poet's Pulitzer Prize winning novel or a poetry book, Diane Suss's Frank Sonnets. And I was like, oh, this is actually a really good book. But so I have to do a book review on that this week. So I'm like, ooh, fun.
Local poets, woo! Speaking of local poets, I got to meet the first Michigan poet laureate in 50 years, Nandi Comer. She came to my college the other day. Phenomenal experience. I was kind of Twitter-pated because I mean, meeting a poet laureate is kind of iconic when you think about it. But it was
Well, does
really
she always speak in all rhymes or?
no, definitely not. But it was really cool. It was it was really cool to listen to her perform her work and then talk about like the position of being a poet laureate. Like, what does that entail? Like what administrative aspects are to the position. It just was super interesting to kind of listen to. I feel like poet laureates should be celebrated far more than they actually are.
Uh, don't they like do poetry at like events and stuff like that?
They do like library tours. They do like like tours across different schools, so on and so forth. And it's mostly just meant to kind of like promote literacy, literature, all of that jazz, and like education. So
So it's kind of like the Miss America of the poetry world.
kind of like I feel like that's a pretty good juxtaposition.
Oh my God, I love it.
So my week has been a literal hellscape.
It has. I'm so
Like
sorry.
I oh my gosh. So everyone, I was quite sick late last week and over the weekend, and I'm finally today I'm feeling back to normal.
It's been
Um
dreadful for you. I'm so sorry.
yeah, well, I think it was I got like bronchitis, and I didn't realize like the breathing issues that would come with it. So
Mhm.
like at a certain point, like when you have it, and that I actually thought I had pneumonia for a moment, but it's bronchitis. I like felt like if I say like one more time tonight, I'm gonna take a shot. Anyway, so my like I just felt like this weight on my lungs. Like it just felt like I felt like I wasn't getting like
Like,
product Ah, I felt like I was not getting productive inhalations.
yeah.
There we go. Are you carefully scanning to see if I say leg now?
No, I was just like, it's okay. My tardive dyskinesia is going off the wall today, because I'm blinking, I'm blinking a lot, and I'm like, oh, I hope nobody's noticing that.
Oh, I didn't notice anything. I thought you were just intently like being like, is he gonna say leg again?
No, I'm getting really tired. I didn't have coffee, so I'm my facial movements are going off because of my medication. So if I'm blinking a lot or if my mouth is moving, it's because of the tardive dyskinesia. So I'm sorry.
No, you're good. No, speaking of coffee, I was so sick on Monday that I went an entire day without coffee, and I have not done that in so long.
Yeah,
Oh my
that
goodness.
might have made it worse. Weren't you like you said one day you were so sick, and he you said that you were sweating so bad and you were giving a speech, and I
Oh
was just
yeah.
like,
So on Sunday I had a headache so bad that I just did not leave my bed. Like I shut the
yeah,
shades, turned on TV, and I just sat in the dark all day. And I think it was a combination of being dehydrated from being sick, and then of course no coffee.
yeah.
I ended up having coffee, and it made me feel a little bit better the next day.
You know why
Um,
that is? You know why that is because coffee has caffeine in it, and
mhm.
caffeine is a painkiller.
Yeah, because it's in acetaminophen, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, so fast forward to like Tuesday and Wednesday.
Mhm.
Um, because I was like kind of like shedding, like I was like getting rid of like the gunk in my body.
Yeah.
Um, I was like sweating through layers of clothes. I
Oh,
didn't have a fever. I didn't have a fever. But and I am not a person that I don't sweat that much. So I was like I felt disgusting the
oh,
entire
poor
day. Like I was just like, this is gross. Like I feel gross.
you told me that, and I just felt so bad for you. I was like, oh my goodness. I could just imagine you just like giving your speech and you're just like sweating buckets.
I know. Thankfully, like my face wasn't really, it was everywhere else. Like everywhere and everything else was
Just
doing
like, oh,
that.
swampy, just like, oh, unfortunate.
Essentially, yes.
Poor Dottie.
So, current event snapshot. What's been going on lately?
So if you hadn't heard, in Baltimore, a bridge collapsed and it was like pretty bad. Like it
Yes.
was pretty it has kind of messed up like traffic flow and just been, it kind of reminds me of what happened in, I think it was it Philadelphia? There was that tunnel collapse that happened. And they were
Mhm.
trying to like fix all of that stuff that happened. Was it Philadelphia that happened in?
No, but I remember there being another bridge collapse, wasn't it, in Minneapolis a few years ago?
It was
Ye
no, this was just recently, but there was something that happened
Oh.
that they were doing like a whole bunch. It was an emergency because they were doing like a bunch of like tunnel work and stuff. And I was thinking it was in Philadelphia, um, because there was a guy on TikTok talking about it.
Mhm.
Um, Not that I go on TikTok, but I was on TikTok at one point and he was talking about it. Um, but there was a bridge collapse in Baltimore, and so Biden was okaying $60 million in aid for that. Um, also, I do not listen to a lot of new music, but have you listened to this new cowboy?
Beyonce's new absolutely. Beyoncé has branched into country music and is taking it over by storm, and the bigots are mad, and I'm here for it.
I I love it. I was like, I didn't think it was a new album because I don't usually listen to new music, and I was like, because the last I had heard was her Renaissance album, and that was amazing. It was kind of
Mhm.
like ballroom,
Yes.
and I was like, I was really into that. So now listening to her Cowboy Carter, I'm like, this is like amazing. Like I can't believe, but she's from Texas, so it makes sense that she's got. I'm just like, wow, this is like really amazing. And I was just like, this feels like very current event worthy because it's just so good. The music's so good.
Mhm. Yeah. No, I've been absolutely obsessed with it. So, another thing that's been kind of taking the internet by storm has been that new documentary titled Quiet on Set,
Hmm.
which documents like a lot of the um unsafe conditions child actors experienced in the late 90s and early 2000s, especially at Nickelodeon specifically.
Yeah.
And and so like it featured, I mean, it like talked a lot about a lot of different actors like Amanda Bynes, um, Drake Bell, who else? Ariana
Did
Grande was one of them as well.
Wasn't Jeanette McCurdy a Nickelodeon actor?
Yes, absolutely. So
Hmm.
basically, I mean, I'm not gonna like give it all away because I think it's important to watch, but it draws a lot of awareness to the very problematic like harm that was placed on child actors. Like they were in many instances not safe because of like corrupt directors or you know talent agents or who else like
In Jeanette
vocal
McCurdy,
coaches.
in Jeanette McCurdy's case, she was unsafe because she wrote a whole book about it. Her mom was a narcissist and just forced her into like eating disordered behavior and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I must say that if you were a person who really loved, like, Nickelodeon, like, it's a lot to watch. Like, it's definitely a content warning, be mindful of it as you go through and watch it because it's pretty rough, it's pretty rough.
Right.
But it's also made me think because like, now that, like, this whole Nickelodeon thing has been unearthed and attention's been drawn to it, like
You know who they should do an expose on is BuzzFeed, because you know those BuzzFeed teen reacts? I heard that those kids were forced into um their opinions. 'Cause I saw a video about this, that they were like a short where people were meeting up with the BuzzFeed teens, those Teen React kids, and that their opinions were, go
Mhm.
figure, not real, and that they were kind of guided into having certain opinions, and that their opinions weren't like actual real reactions. Like they were told to have very certain opinions if they wanted to get onto the BuzzFeed videos, and that if they had real reactions, that they were probably going to get cut from the video,
Right. That doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me.
among
But
other things.
but the other like, I mean, aside from, like, BuzzFeed and Nickelodeon, Disney.
Oh
Like,
yeah, the Disney kids.
like Disney also kind of like owned the monopoly on like teen dramas and kid dramas and stuff like that.
I want Britney Spears to spill the tea about Disney kids, like the Mickey Mouse Club and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Wasn't Miley Cyrus like Hannah Montana?
Justin Timberlake.
Oh, Justin Timberlake. Oh, Justin Timberlake. That's a lot to process because
if you read his biography, you know the truth about Justin Timberlake.
Yeah. It makes my NSYNC loving heart, tear in two, honestly, but
you're tearing up my
heart. Are we ready for the show mission statement? Is that the cue?
It is. It's your turn.
Okay. We live in a dynamic society where social media shapes us by creating greater opportunities for connection. It has led to a developing understanding of the adversity many marginalized communities face, the powers causing the adversity, and those who act as bystanders as atrocities take place in real time. Our goal with this show is to make meaningful connections, and have challenging conversations about social topics, current events, pop culture, and art. Together, let's weave the threads of understanding with what privilege we have in order to learn, educate, and create in a world that's growing.
Yay!
I got through it. So, oh my goodness, college nostalgia.
We met in college.
We did. We met in college through a religious diversity group.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's very pagan oriented, by the way.
It was a wild ride.
That was fun times. Lots of crazy times, but fun times.
One of my favorite memories are the late nights that we would pull, like either making flyers or doing flyering around campus.
Mm-hmm.
And then nobody else would show up, so it would just be us doing the flyering.
My flyers were on fire. I had traced the Fool card, so they looked really. My flyers were on fleek.
On fleek. I've not heard that in a while. My flyers were on fleek. Brian's here. Hello, Brian. How are
Hello,
you?
Brian.
Oops, I just clicked on it again.
Because we had free pizza at our religious diversity group parties, and I was always eating the cheese pizza. There was always so much pizza. We always had pizza.
I loved it. It's probably why I gained 15 pounds my first year. So, no, and then, of course, the other fond memory of us doing our Godzilla and Mothra presentation.
Oh, my God. Remember the video that we made? I was like, oh, you're like...
I was, like, going along with it, but then, like, 5 minutes into the squawking, I was like, okay. Like,
okay, bitch. Okay, bitch, calm down.
It's one of my favorite videos. It's so funny.
You're like, the pussy got snatched. You're like, relax. Sorry, that was really.
Oh, you got me going.
Sorry, that was a little inappropriate.
That was really funny. So I guess, how would you describe the college experience as to what college is like for students now, as someone who still interacts with college students? So that, yes. I feel like you directed that at me, kind of.
Yes, because Donnie, I was like, you experienced college as a student, but now as professor, you interact with students now, and you still understand what the college experience is like. What's the difference?
I mean, so I teach at a community college. So the college experience is a little bit different because the students are commuting to campus. They aren't living on campus, right?
Right.
So, like, a lot of it is like they're working throughout the day, then they come to class, or,
Mhm.
the other way around. I do sometimes teach at a university, and I would say, I'd say that I'm pretty far removed from the actual student experience. So I'm not sure. I mean, I know that students still have like, their social groups that they've joined, so on and so forth. So I think that like those are still in place, but I feel like social media has a more distinct presence in college life now than it did say than when we were in college and like, you
But,
know.
like, are students doing their classes mostly online now, when they go to college? Are they doing are they doing most of their classwork through, like, Brightspace or, or online rather than
Oh.
doing, like, their classes in like, do you do most of your lecture work and stuff, like,
Mhm.
online instead of in the classroom these days?
So, I mean, it depends on if it's a face-to-face or an online class specifically. Like, if it's a face-to-face class, then yeah, like um, I mean, I do all of my lectures in class, but we still use our like learning management systems. So
Yeah,
like everything gets posted on Brightspace or Blackboard or Canvas or whatever.
yeah.
Whereas like when we were in college, we would have professors who wouldn't even use their Blackboard, right? Like no,
Yeah, I
like
mean, most of my classes, I would just show up to class, and I don't think I ever really used Blackboard at all in any of my
I
classes.
don't remember using it until like my maybe last year, and then like I
I
noticed
I
that
never
people started
used it
using it.
ever, and none of my classes and I was a journalism major, we never used Blackboard. We used email maybe, but we never used Blackboard.
Mhm. Oh, CMU's email system. It was always a mess.
I know.
I remember.
That's what I'm saying, the technology when we were in college was so it was to look back on it, it was such a dinosaur. It was so outdated even then, and it was so
Remember, we
bad.
would we instead of like messengers on social media, we would use like AOL Instant Messenger, Yahoo Messenger.
I think we used Facebook Messenger, but it was so primitive back then
Oh, at
even.
a certain point, yeah. I mean, like early on, we were using like Yahoo and like AOL. I kind
Yeah,
of miss those instant messengers.
yeah. Yahoo Messenger, I like the AOL. You know, I was just on Facebook the other day, and, Jared Morningstar, posted a MySpace dupe.
Oh, really?
Yes, and I signed up for the MySpace dupe. It's a website that's called Hey, it's like Space Hey or something, which is basically like MySpace now. And
Oh,
it looks and sounds like MySpace. And you can post bulletins and do blogs and stuff. And
can
you
you
can
like
join
have a
groups.
song be like your
Yes,
Oh my god, do I need to get on it? I think
I
I'm going to.
join me on the MySpace dupe.
I miss MySpace. Oh my goodness. I remember I didn't get a MySpace till like late high school. Like it was like my senior year of high school going into college. I got a MySpace and I used to post the saddest poetry.
I
And I
know,
used
and
to
you could do that again.
yeah, I might. And then I used to like just spend hours fiddling with like the coding of my MySpace site.
People are doing that now. People are coding their MySpace profiles just like you can do that again. You can code your profile to look exactly like it did
On Space Hey, what is it
on
called?
Space Day. Yeah.
Space Hey. Oh my goodness. So what is a memory that you think back on and you're like, "Oh my god, I can't believe that that still or that happened. It was such an iconic moment for me."
Oh, Brian, sorry to hear that you're going through some stuff right now.
Oh, Brian, I hope everything's okay. Hang in there. Hang in there. So, what is a memory that you think back to and you're like, I can't believe I did that, but that was such an iconic moment for me?
So I mentioned this, but I had a college bucket list, and some of the things that I did on my college bucket list were iconic moments for me. But like I did things like I participated in a flash mob,
Oh.
and I don't know if you. So what the flash mob did was we all got together, these group of students and I, and we went through the halls of um, the main building, and we sang the CMU alumni song. We all got to we all gathered together and we all started singing the alumni cheer,
Mm-hmm.
and went through. And we were all wearing CMU gear. So I got a free T-shirt from the one of the sports offices, and it was too big for me. It was like because I was kind of small back then. I was like maybe like 170 pounds or so, or like 165 pounds, and it was a 2X T-shirt. So what I did
Mm-hmm.
was I put it down and I did one of those. I wore it as a dress, so I like tied it behind me, and I wore the shirt as a dress.
That is pretty iconic.
And so I wore this shirt as a dress through this main building, singing the CIMU alumni song.
If only that
Or
were recorded, because that would have been great to see.
I think somebody did record it, but I don't think that they recorded. I don't think I was on the video, but I
Um,
remember the flash mob being on there, and I was like, "Yeah, that was such an iconic moment doing a flash mob."
I think the one thing that I look back on from college and I'm like, that was iconic, and that I participated in, I got to participate in a protest for the first time when I was in college.
I did several protests throughout the college experience.
Was I ended up doing more later on, but like my first protest, I will never forget. I believe it was protesting the Westboro Baptist Church, who
Yeah.
came to campus. And there was like a legion of students protesting them, like aligned along like that main road where the library is and like the university center, right? And it was so cool. Like I was just like, wow, I'm a part of a protest, social change.
I was in my French class and we did a reenactment of the 1968 protests that were in Paris.
Mm-hmm.
We did a reenactment protest and that was so much fun. We actually like walked through the quad, like the area in between Rao and Pierce,
Mm-hmm.
like that courtyard there. We went through and we were singing French protest songs, like protest slogans in French as we were like walking through doing our little protests.
That is amazing.
Yeah. So another bucket list item that I did was because I was a student teacher for stereotypes in mass media, I got to meet Danny Glover.
Oh wow.
Yeah, because he was speaking, he was doing a reading of a speech by Martin Luther King, speaking out against the Vietnam War, because this is around the time that we were in Iraq.
Mm-hmm.
So he was reading a speech by Martin Luther King Jr. speaking out against Vietnam. And so I was like, this is really powerful. And so I got to eat dinner at the president's house. Like we went to the president's house and I got to eat dinner and have drinks at the president's house. And I got to meet Danny Glover.
What a bougie experience.
I know. And it was all free. It was a free experience.
Wow, that is wild. I
Um,
think
oh no, sorry, go ahead.
no, I was gonna say,
I have another bucket list experience, but you go
I
first.
think one of my bucket list experiences, because I ended up double majoring in anthropology like halfway through
Mm-hmm.
being at CMU. And one of the major guest speakers that were invited to campus was Dr. Jane Goodall. And I
Ooh,
got to meet
You got to meet Goodell?
I got to meet Jane Goodall, and she was this just disarming, meek and powerful, like, soul. Like, it was such a surreal experience getting to meet.
That's so cool.
She was so nice, and she signed something, she shook my hand. I remember I cried. I think that I have a video on YouTube somewhere about meeting Jane Goodall, so
That's really
but
cool. That's really cool.
wow, it was really fun. I would say that was one of my bucket list items. So what was your other one?
So do you remember the tunnels underneath CMU?
Yes, I do.
So one of my bucket list items was I wanted to see the tunnels under CMU. And so we all got together in the journalism department and we got a technician to show us the heat tunnels underneath CMU that keep the sidewalks heated. And so we got to take video and pictures of it. And we put that on the magazine for the gcmag.org. And so we got to see all underneath there, and we got to walk along the route underneath the school, and we got to see the underground tunnels.
Oh my goodness. Wow. That is really surreal. So speaking of them, I gotta look at the comments first. Arby is here. Hello. Leo is here. Hello, Leo.
Hello,
We
Leo.
are all a bunch of stunning moths here, that's for sure. It's good to see you. I hope you've been doing well. Okay, Ari, I'm salty about something from college.
What are you salty about?
Very salty. I applied for Grand Central Magazine many times, and I never got a position. I'm so jealous.
Wait, you wanted to work for GC Mag?
Mm-hmm.
Why didn't you ask me? I would have gotten you a position on there.
I think it may have been slightly before I met you that I was really trying, but then I stopped because I ended up getting a job on campus. That's why I stopped. But
because I would have gotten you a position on there. I was a digital creator. I did the question of the week and all that stuff, and actually they wanted me to be an editor, and I turned it down.
Oh, why'd you turn it down?
Because I didn't have the time commitment because I was a student assistant as well.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair. No, there was a time I almost went into journalism as opposed to English creative writing concentration, but I decided to stick with
because Betsy Rao was the teacher for gcmag.org, and so I was a creator for them.
No, so I remember in college, I don't think I was really mentally stable enough to have a pretty good job until halfway through college. So at a certain point, I applied to be an RA. I did not make it through that. I applied for the writing center, and I was told that my writing was too creative to be relevant at the writing center.
Oh, that's
that destroyed me. I almost dropped out of school because I was so upset over being told that. Mm-hmm. But then my junior year, I ended up getting a job as a deskie, as a desk attendant.
Yeah.
Which retrospectively,
don't let people steal your joy like that because they're just wrong.
But retrospectively, I don't regret being a deskie. I got to see some of the most interesting things.
Yeah.
Usually involving people's drunk shenanigans. Why I got punched in the face one night.
Oh my goodness.
Somebody made out with me over the desk one night. It was
iconic. It was the Towers is so crazy. That's what
I know. I was just
I lived in Walt my first year, which was
that's where the big computer lab was. I remember
because we would meet. And I used to go down to the computer lab, and I would spend all night in the computer lab, and then I would go back to my dorm and just crash. But I hated Walt. My favorite dorm was Pierce, which was the girls' dorm, because it was less smelly. because the Walt dorm is one of the older dorms, and it just smelled so bad. It smelled dusty, and it smelled like men's BO, and people used to vomit in the hallways and stuff. It just was bad. But like living in the girls' dorm, girls actually like took care of it, and it always smelled like good perfume and stuff in those hallways. And like girls like decorated, and it was just like a nice, cute little. It was just nice.
So you lived in Wolt and then Pierce, and
then we moved and then the year after that I moved with Kayla into the apartments. The foreign exchange student ghetto.
I do remember the apartment. I do remember your apartment.
I thought my apartment was haunted, and I actually like had problems sleeping in it because I in fact I think that's where I developed bipolar, because I would not sleep for days on end.
Oh my goodness.
There was like once I went like a whole like 2 weeks where I would only sleep like 15 minutes a day.
Wow.
It got so bad by like day 4, I like had nosebleeds in the shower because I was like not sleeping. And I was studying like 16, 17 hours a day.
Lack of sleep can really impact somebody's health in a whole variety of different ways.
But it's because I would hear people walking up and down the stairs, and there was no one in the apartment. And I would hear people like banging on the walls and stuff.
Mm-hmm. That is really creepy.
Hey, we've got a ghost. And it's like, no, it's just because our walls are paper thin.
My first dorm was Merrill, which was at that time the all boys dorm. Ooh. I signed up for that when I signed up for that when I first came out, and I was like, I'm gonna meet a guy. I didn't.
You're in the boys' dorms. Come here, boys.
Bye. And then I moved to the Towers. I lived in Wheeler for a while. Then I lived in Cobb. And I think that's where I lived the rest of, because I lived on campus all 4 years.
But wasn't the Towers like really crowded?
It was very crowded. And I couldn't afford to live in one of the newer towers with like the individual rooms.
Yeah.
But because I was a deskier, I ended up rooming with RAs. So like it was just me and an RA. So
so that's nice.
Yeah, it was kind of nice. Because I had some really bad roommate experiences in college. Like I will never forget like my second year? I had like all homophobic roommates.
Because they would seat like 4 to a room, and those would get like my aunt said that it was so bad before that they couldn't even fit like a stretcher into the hallways of like some of those towers, because it's just like the hallways are so like narrow.
They are very narrow. I remember I went back to CMU once, like years later, and I was in one of the towers, and I was just like, I started feeling like vertigo. I was like, what is going on? Because the hallways are just so narrow. I'm not a fan of that, but
yeah.
College had us dressing every which way. Name an outfit that you wore in college. Was that your go-to to going out to the club outfit?
Oh my God, your club outfit. What was your club outfit?
My club outfit was always a gothy one. I always would wear some sort of like gothy print band tee with a studded necklace. And I would wear like really tight, I would wear like skinny jeans.
Absolutely. So you're like the goth kids that meet under a bridge, like doing that. You remember that Vine of the kids doing the thing under the bridge? That's you. That was you.
A little gothy troll. Yes, absolutely.
So for me, I was definitely a lot more bright than that. I wore business casual to the club. So what I wore, I have shoes that kind of look like the shoes that I wore in college. So these kind of shoes.
Oh my, I do remember, I think, yes.
These kind of shoes, a pair of skinny jeans that always looked really good on my butt, and a button-up shirt that was polka dotted or flowered, but they came down to here, and it had like a little collar on it, and bright red lipstick, black eyeshadow, and my hair would either be pulled back in like a top bun like this, and I would wear like a pearl necklace. Yeah.
This does sound like your college aesthetic.
Yes. And I was like, yes, that is what I would wear to the club. And I was like, sometimes I would have bangles or like some little like, little
accessories.
Accessories, but I would always have that, and I would always have like a little, like a little purse or something, or like maybe just like a little clutch purse.
Was this when you went? Would you go to Wayside dressed like this?
I would.
Wayside. Okay, so Wayside, everybody, was like the local club near our university. I don't even know. Does it still exist? I think it still exists.
I only went to Wayside like maybe less than 5 times.
Oh, I used to go there quite a bit. And I'll never forget, like, the people from like Jersey Shore would be in Mount Pleasant and they would be at Wayside. It was wild, the relevance that seemed to happen there. Oh my goodness, Jedi Granville is here. I just wanted to sneak in here quick, and you got to also go see. I'm already planning on going to see Godzilla X Kong tomorrow. I'm pretty excited. Woo!
Oh, I'm so excited to see it too.
Oh,
even though I don't like Godzilla vs. Kong movies as much as I like the original Godzilla movies or just the regular Godzilla movies, I'm gonna see it and I'm gonna like it anyway.
I know, me too. I got my like elevated, intellectually relevant Godzilla -1 experience, and now I get to enjoy the Showa era brawling of Godzilla. But anyway, so like Wayside was a go-to place. Kaya was a go-to place. Remember
I
Kaya?
loved Kaya. I would read tarot cards at Kaya, and that was so much fun. You would get the chai latte shakes.
Oh my god.
A grilled cheese sandwich, and you would sit down and you would read tarot cards or read like a little book next to the fireplace. It was so much fun.
Everybody, Kaya was the place where I got to do my first ever poetry reading, which was surreal. And I mean, obviously with the religious diversity group that we were in, we got to spend so much time after our meetings there, right? Like we would literally close out the coffee shop.
I was so shy to ever do a poetry reading at Kaya. I was like too scared to get up in front of people and do the open mic.
It was I did it for National Coming Out Week. Like that was like the thing that got me to do it. It was really scary.
Yeah.
But like Kaya is now gone. And I remember the day it closed, I sat in my car and I cried a little bit. I was like, it's gone.
The SBX is gone too, and so is Mena's. Remember Mena's, the burrito place? That's gone too.
Isn't the malt shop gone too?
Malt shop is gone too.
All that good stuff. Ooh. Everybody who's never been to see me, you're like,
what? Where do people go for coffee now? Where do they go for burritos? Where do all the college students go at CMU for all their good tasty eats? I said, do they, and is the Mexican place still there where you could get like the $5 margaritas? Remember those? Or like the $2 margaritas?
I don't know if that's still there or not. Or Dragon Express, that Chinese restaurant that was next to the towers. Oh, I ate so much trash food there, but it was so good.
I loved getting the vegetable noodles from there. They were so bad for you. They were so greasy. I loved those. I would go down there and get those noodles all the time too.
I miss those little local hangouts, you know. So, where are we at now?
Or like go down to like the 7-Eleven and get a slushie.
Oh, nothing compares to that.
Yeah.
I remember if I was feeling really desperate for something different, I would walk all the way down to like the university center and I would go to Quiznos. Anybody remember does Quiznos still exist? I don't think it does. I think Quiznos went out of business.
Remember the little convenience store that the university had, like, in Waltz next to the computer center with their overpriced snacks?
Oh, the
I used to get
best.
these I used to get these little cuties, these little vegan, ice cream sandwiches, and I would eat those all the time.
Ari, the amount of Bosco sticks I would eat, the amount of itty bitty pizzas I would eat. I could have probably paid my tuition with.
So my roommate and I once got high, and we were sitting in front of the building, and it was illegal. This is when it was illegal in Michigan to get high, but we were sitting in front of the building. She said, we're gonna play it cool. We're gonna play it cool. We're gonna walk in and pretend like nothing's wrong. I said, it's gonna be fine, Kayla. It's gonna be fine, Kayla. We're stoned out of our minds. We're like, it's gonna be fine, Kayla. If you go, I go. If we get expelled, if you get expelled, it's my fault. She's like, no, I'm gonna put it on me. It's on me. It'll be my fault. I said, no, Kayla, I can't let you do that. So we walk in with totally straight face. We just walk in like, hey, did you want to check your mail? And I'm like, no, I'll check it later. And we
Such a guilty conscience. But like, I miss dorm food. Do you miss dorm food?
I miss dorm food. Remember the Waltz cafeteria was like such opulence. Do you ever have?
Oh
Did
my
you ever?
God, I do remember.
They had like the little stations where they would like you could get like the pasta station where they would make like a pasta dish for you, or like they had like fresh pizza out all the time, or like just everything was like fresh, or like always could get ice cream, or they had like you could get like Chinese food, or like
Mm-hmm.
just they always had something fresh on the menu. You could always just get it like made to order, and it was just like always perfect.
Yeah, it was so good. So, how would you describe your health in college versus now? I was very unhealthy in college.
Man, I would go for these like runs in college. People used to like honk their horn at me and I would go for these like early morning. Do you know I used to run with deer in Mount Pleasant because I'd be like,
Mm-hmm.
I was so like Pocahontas because it's in northern Michigan. It's northern Michigan, and I would just start running. I just be running along. All of a sudden, I look up and there's like 6 deer running with me, and I just keep running, be like on mile 3, and like turn the corner and I just keep running, and people would start honking at me. I'm like screaming to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
They're calling me fat or whatever. They just be like yelling at me. They're cat calling me or something. I don't even know. I couldn't even hear. I was just like in my own world. So I'm just like, so I flip them off and I just keep running. Just keep running.
I
thought I was so out of shape. I thought I was so out of shape back then. I thought that I was so fat back then. And I had all of these like self-image things. And here I am like running every single day on top of my classwork, on top of all this stuff. And I look back on it and I'm like, God, I was so healthy. And I was so, I was so busy all the time. And I was so social. And I had this like amazing life. And man, what was I thinking about myself? Like just thinking all these dark thoughts about myself. And I was just like, I was happy-go-lucky.
Mm-hmm. Now I kind of had the same headspace when I was in college, but then like I would go through really deep bouts of depression in college though too. Like I remember like I used to do some like very unwise shit. Like I remember I used to take these really long walks on campus at like 2, 3 in the morning.
I do that too. I get up, you go up really late, you just start walking around late at night and like so dangerous.
It was very dangerous. And I always remember being like, ooh, what if like something happened? Like I would like romanticize it in like a very strange way.
Oh, like so much like it's so bad.
That's why we get along so well.
Feel like, ooh, what if I have a stalker?
What if I find a gothy boyfriend in the shadow of night?
What if we meet at the tree at midnight?
What? We were so angsty and over romanticized of everything. Oh, I love it. So what habits did you pick up in college? Have they lasted, and were they good or bad?
So one of the biggest things I picked up in college, so I was definitely like a club whore. Like I was a person who was like a self-starter. Like I was a person who just always joined, like self-disciplined, I think is something I really picked up in college, that I was always like signing up for stuff and joining in on stuff. And like people didn't ask me to do things. I just always was like, hey, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this because it's going to look good on my resume. And I was just always like thinking ahead about the future. And I was just
Mhm.
always like thinking about like, what do I want to do with my life? What do I want to do? Like, how is it going to affect my future? And like, where am I going with myself? And like thinking about like, what do I want? How do I want to spend my time? And like, and I was always thinking about like networking, and I was always thinking about like, you know, um, just making the most of my experiences, I think. And I think that's something that has followed me into my life of I don't want to have be in experiences and like do things without making the most of those experiences, and just having lived my life of I never want to wallow in my experiences where I've just am existing where I don't make the most of the time that I have.
Mhm.
And even now, as somebody who's disabled, I've always found the most of my time, and that I always use the experience and the time that I have to always just have fun and just do exciting things.
Yeah. No, I really relate with that. I think one of the habits I picked up in college that I still do is YouTube, for example.
Yeah.
But I remember I just remember like you were pretty avid. You had been doing YouTube, but way before I had been doing it. Probably like a good year or two before I had even done it.
I know. And
And
I was like, Donny, you gotta try the YouTube thing.
I know, and then I did, and I'm like, I'm kind of obsessed with this. I'll never forget my first YouTube video ever on my old channel was me trying to play a song on my saxophone.
Hmm.
I'll never forget. I was in my dorm room. I was wearing like a orange and white and black polo. It was obnoxious. And my roommate barged in, interrupted me while recording, and then he left. And I looked at the camera and I'm like, like, like I just stood there for a minute, like just eviscerating my roommate. Like this, And then I was just like, I think I have that video somewhere, like buried in the vaults, but I was just like, it was really bad.
The thing I feel the most guiltiest about in college is I was in the girls' dorm, and I had the nicest roommates ever. And one night I was playing the the final countdown, do 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 do, without headphones on my computer in the common area of our room, because we had the two bedrooms and then you had a common area,
Hmm.
and they're like desks and stuff. So my desk was next to the window. I was playing the final countdown full blast at like 11 o'clock at night. So my roommate Sophia comes out of her room and
Sophia.
she comes out of her room and she goes, "Can you turn that down?" And I'm like, "Yeah."
Too bad Sophia is not here because she sometimes tunes in for these.
But I was like, "Yes, I'm so sorry."
Oh my God, Ari. My roommate, my first year, angered me so much. Okay, so I had two roommates. One was in like the one room with me, who was the annoying one, and then the other one I barely saw ever. Well, the annoying roommate would sit and watch like Adult Swim until like 3 in the morning and would laugh so loudly. Constant. Like I remember his chuckle, his laugh in my nightmares because it would always wake me up out of dead sleep. And I would be just irate. I'd be like, this is the same roommate that interrupted me while playing the saxophone.
My favorite thing about Sophia is that she always loved watching Wizards of Waverly Place.
Yeah.
I would walk in and she'd be sitting around and she'd be watching Wizards of Waverly Place, and she'd be eating peanut M&Ms, and I would just be like, "That's just Sophia," and I just loved it. I never got over that because I was like, I never watched a single episode of Wizards of Waverly Place, but I always caught snippets of it, and I was just like, that's a show that I always associate with Sophia.
I remember meeting Sophia when we would do our Monster Movie Mondays. So Ari and I used to do like Monster Movie Mondays where we would pick some B film, whatever. Like many Godzilla films made it into the mix too, but we would eat food and just watch a monster movie. It was great.
And drink wine.
Mm-hmm. It was great. I loved it.
Yeah.
Arpy says, I went to a community college. That's nice. Oh. Also, I hope you do a roommates episode. Maybe we will.
We're kind of talking about our roommates right now.
Kind of, yeah. I've had so many roommates over the years, so it's like...
I haven't had too many roommates. Most of my roommates outside of college have been boyfriends.
Mm-hmm.
But in college, I had a lot of foreign roommates. Like when I lived in the foreign exchange student ghetto, I had a couple of Thai girls that were terrible roommates. Then I had a couple of Chinese girls that were really good roommates.
Mm-hmm. I think I remember.
The Thai girls were terrible because they would cook, and I don't mind how you cook, but they would burn their curry, so the house smelled like burnt curry for like days. And then they would not wash their dishes, but then they would blame us and make us wash their dishes.
I think I remember when you had those roommates because I remember you ranting about that.
They would leave like passive aggressive notes about us doing their dishes. And I was like, but you dirtied those dishes.
I was always leaving passive aggressive notes for my bro-tato roommates. Like, Ari, when I lived with like all frat dudes one year, and it was a mess. The bathroom, can you imagine how disgusting that was?
I cannot imagine, not even a little.
Here's the one thing I do not miss about dorm life. So when in the towers, you didn't have like two like bedrooms. You would have like a common room, a bathroom, and then like a bedroom with 4 bunks.
Were there dirty socks in the bathroom?
Oh yeah, that's nothing. They would literally partake in carnal activities with you literally on the bunk bed with them.
No. Why?
Do you want to hear a really funny story?
How did they get people to okay to that?
Do you want to hear one funny story?
Yes.
I was on the top bunk this one year, and like this dude who had the bunk beneath me was just constantly having sex with his girlfriend, just constant.
Well, how did she agree to that? I would know.
Well, so one night I like was really mad about this, and I moved like roughly against the bed, rougher than they were clearly, and because I knew he had like photo frames on his headstand. So I like moved so hard enough to knock down all of his photo frames on top of them while they were
doing it.
Just to be, I was being petty. I was like, this is going to stop
No.
them. And it did.
Oh my God. No, that's terrible. That's
Oh,
why would they? No, this.
oh. And then
No.
when I had my first like man friend, like getting them to allow me the privacy was like trying to slay a dragon with a toothpick.
Oh my God.
The
Okay.
double standard. Anyway.
We got to wrap up. We're at 59. So, what are the things? Name one thing you miss most about college and the college experience as a whole.
I miss the early days we had on YouTube and all the fun that we would have. I think that's the thing I miss the most. And I'm not saying that just to be like overly sentimental because we do this now, but like I really feel like it was so fun and socially developmental for me to do that. And I don't think you ever realized just how socially developing your friendship was for me at the time.
I miss how centrally located everything was. Like with a bicycle or walking, you could get to class, you could get to food, you could you could meet your friends, and everything was just all in one central location. And everybody was always there, and you could just walk to your friend's room and they were there. And you could walk to dinner and they were all there. And you could walk to classes and it was right there. And you could walk to just wherever you needed to go. Everything was just like right there.
No, that is a good point. Like everything was pretty accessible, which was kind of nice.
Yeah. And that's what I missed. That's what I missed about the college experience. Because when you get out into the real world, everything is just like you have to drive places and your friends move to all these different cities. So you're not even in the same city anymore. Sometimes not even the same state anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like you just become more disconnected from everything, and everything becomes more wide range.
And so many people fall out of touch after, like, out of contact after college too. Like I think that's the one thing I really value about our friendship is that we had like a few years where we were experiencing our different things, right? But then like we reconnected. So I think that it felt like no time had passed, kind of.
I just missed you so much when we weren't talking, and it just didn't feel right when we weren't talking.
Same. I felt the same way. So, well, everyone, I hope that you enjoyed our little like meander down memory lane, our little college nostalgia episode.
I had fun this episode.
It was purely a self-indulgent episode, and I love it.
It was very self-indulgent.
All right, friends. Well, we hope that you have a good rest of your night. Don't forget to click like, subscribe to our respective channels. You know my channels. Subscribe to Ari's channels, Strange Nothings, Boocha Baby, and Tarot Time with Ari. Check.
Check, check.
All right, everyone. Have a good rest of your night. We love you. Bye.
Bye.